I love musical theater. Both of my parents are out of the house right now, so I did what any theater trash does and just started like walking around and singing songs. And it just made me want to talk about musicals. So I've pulled up some musical theater tags from back in the day when people used to do tags on the internet. And I figured I'd just do them, just talk about it, have a good time, you know? And then maybe afterwards I might look at some like BuzzFeed quizzes and checklists or whatever if I feel like I want to keep going. So I literally just Googled musical theater tag and opened up a few of the first couple links. Okay, so the first question is plays or musicals. I like both. Regardless of if I'm watching or if I'm actually in one, I enjoy doing both of them. I think I prefer watching musicals to watching plays, but regardless, I enjoy it. But funnily enough, I think I actually prefer being in plays. I still love being in musicals, especially because out of all of the performing arts that I've done, the one that I was like most into, most dedicated to, and best at was dancing. Whenever I got to be in like a dance heavy role in a musical, that was always a lot of fun for me. But I feel like I just have so many more fond memories of being in plays. I think I just did more plays than musicals, and so when I think about theater and like doing theater and all the fond memories I have of doing theater, it's like mostly associated with plays. So anyways, I guess the answer is a bit of both. When did you start liking the performing arts? I started dancing when I was like 2. And then, I mean, the first time that I ever saw like a musical, I grew up in Chicago, and my mom is really into the musical theater scene. And so I also must have been pretty young. I was probably like 3 or 4 the first time I saw a stage show. So forever ago, like when I was an actual toddler is when I started getting into it. Ever been in a musical? I have. I've never had a big role in a musical, but I've been in many choruses in my day. The closest thing to like a big role I ever had in a musical was I was a bird girl in Seussical, which was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing that. And again, kind of a dancey role. That's always a good time for me. What was the first musical you saw on Broadway? I have no idea. The first time I went to New York, I think I was like 6 or 7, and so I can't remember that far back, so I have no clue. The first just like professional show I remember seeing in Chicago, which the shows that they put on in Chicago are like the same staging and sets and everything as what they do in New York. And so the first one I remember seeing on Broadway in Chicago, I think was Mamma Mia. But also that's like a really, that's a weird show to bring a small child to, so I must have seen like one of the Disney shows, like whatever, The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast or something was probably my first show, but the first one that I have any memory of seeing is Mamma Mia. If you could be any female character in any musical, who would you be? I have no idea. I have no idea. Mainly because I'm not a singer. Like, there's a reason why I never got, like, a big role in a musical is because I can't sing. It's not that I can't sing, I just can't musical theater sing. Like, I'm a decent choral singer. I did choir in high school, and so my head voice is, like, pretty good, pretty developed. I keep forgetting that the last time I sang was when I was in high school, which was 5 years ago. But the point is, when I was singing, I had a pretty strong head voice, but I was never able to belt. So there's not any character that I'd be able to play. If we could assume, like, this is in a fantasy world where you have all of the vocal chops and the stamina and everything that's required to be the role, and it's just, like, somebody who you think would be fun to play. This is such a basic bitch answer, but Glinda. Ever since I first saw Wicked, which was when I was, like, really little, probably, like, 7 or 8, that was the first time I saw Wicked, I've always wanted to be Glinda, and I would still love to be Glinda. Like, that's such a great role. I guess it's not as basic of an answer as Elphaba, so at least I have that going for me. Yeah, I'm sure that there are, like, a million others if I really thought about it. Probably every single show I've ever seen, there's been at least one role that I've been, like, That'd be fun. Which male character? Ooh, that's fun. Because there have definitely been times where it's like, God, if I was a guy, I'd fucking love to play that role. But of course, now that I actually need to answer the question, I'm having trouble thinking of anything. This might be kind of controversial, because a lot of people don't like this show because it's kind of problematic. The humor is incredibly offensive, but Elder Price, I love the Book of Mormon, and I acknowledge that a lot of it's like not okay, but a lot of the humor does get to me, and ultimately I think that what the show is saying, how it wraps up, where it's like, if you want to be religious, that's cool, and if you don't, that's cool. We should all just like be nice to each other and try to do good things and try to make the world a better place. I think that that's incredible, and also I just really like Elder Price's songs. Favorite musical song to sing in the shower? I don't really have any rhyme or reason to it. There's not like one song that I consistently have gone back to my whole life or anything like that. It's usually just like whatever's on the mind. Lately, it's been pretty much any song from the Crazy Ex-Girlfriend soundtrack. Back when the pandemic started, I watched through all of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and I loved it. And so, pretty much the past year, it's been like my main, my main music that I've been listening to has been Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. All of those songs are pretty like fresh on my mind, so that's been the go-to lately, but even then there's not any specific song that I've been listening to. Favorite film adaptation of a musical? That's interesting. Honestly, and again, I think this is kind of a controversial opinion, but I liked The Prom. I saw The Prom when it was on Broadway, so I am familiar with the stage show, and I thought that the movie did a pretty good job. Would I have preferred that Barry was actually played by a gay man? Of course. That being said, I think that James Corden did a great job. It's easily Meryl Streep's best performance in a musical movie that I've seen. Like, she was incredible. She did great. If I got really nitpicky, like, there are issues that I have with it, but I think out of every musical adaptation that I've seen, it's probably the best. I remember liking the Hairspray movie kind of. Like, I thought that the cast was great. Like, everyone in it did a great job, but there were so many things that got cut out of the show that it almost made it hard to follow. It's fun to watch, everybody does a good job, the music is good, but I feel like the story, because of everything that they cut out of it, like the whole part where they all go to jail is just gone, which then also gets rid of Link's redemption of him breaking Tracy out of jail, and like there's so many things like that got cut that kind of make it hard to follow, and so because of that, I'm not like a huge fan of the Hairspray movie. That being said, I still think that it's pretty good. Also, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't think of this earlier, The Sound of Music. Of course, that's like the best movie adaptation of a musical ever, is The Sound of Music. What do you think is the most overrated musical? I know I keep saying that I'm saying controversial things, but this is easily going to be the most controversial thing I'm gonna say in this video. Any Andrew Lloyd Webber show? I've never liked a show of his that I've seen. The one that I liked the most was Phantom, and even that I was like, it's okay. I'm sorry, but I have to speak my truth. I don't really like Andrew Lloyd Webber. Are there any musicals you saw and hated? I don't know if there's ever been a show where I didn't like anything about it. There have definitely been shows where I've come out of it and just kind of been like, I don't know, not a big fan, like the Andrew Lloyd Webber shows. Never a show where it's like, there's nothing about this that I like. Even Cats, which I will go on a rant about how much I dislike Cats, I still appreciate the dancing. Oh my god, no, I'm gonna talk about Cats now. I was a child when I saw Cats, a very anxious child. My parents just made the decision to seat me on the aisle. If you aren't familiar with the show Cats, It's 2.5 hours of cats introducing themselves. That's what the show is. But also, all the people are dressed in like spandex and they have these big wigs and this crazy cat makeup to look like cats, and they will occasionally come out into the audience and like crawl over your laps and like pop out from behind your seat, and they're all like up in your face. And so I'm probably about 8 years old and I'm terrified of everything, and I'm sitting on the aisle of this show where all these people dressed as cats are like bombarding me from every angle, and I was miserable. It was terrible. Also, at one point, and for some people this is a dream, people who love cats, this is a dream, but for me as an 8-year-old who hated everything that was happening, I got singled out by Rum Tum Tugger. Because there's a moment where he goes out into the audience and like chooses someone to flirt with, and it's usually an old lady, but the show that I was at, he chose me, and I think I cried. I hated it. So I guess I will say cats. I hate cats. But when I'm just watching a video of it and I'm not subjected to the horror of having them come out into the audience and interacting with me, if I ever just see a video of a performance of cats, I'm like, hey, the dancing is pretty cool. What musical do you want to see as a film? Prefacing this, I do think that it's great when shows are made into movies. I think it's even better when shows are just filmed. I think part of the magic of musical theater is like seeing it live and it's all happening in front of you. And so it's hard for me to like think of a show and being like, yeah, that would be better as a movie. Like it's rare for me to ever think that. Oh, you know what? Kind of a unconventional answer. I would love to see The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals being made into a movie. I think that the tone of that show and the fact that you're supposed to be kind of off-put by the fact that there's music would work really well in a movie, because you do, when you're watching a movie musical, it kind of feels like weird and out of place that people are like singing and dancing, and so I think that would work with A Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals. And for anybody who's maybe watching this and isn't aware what that is, there's a theater group called Star Kid. They make musicals and then we'll post them on YouTube later on for anybody to watch. So if you're curious about it, you can go look it up and watch it right now. But they have a show called The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals. It's a comedy horror where the premise is that the world is turning into a musical. So there's a alien parasite that like crashes into Earth and starts infecting people, and the way that you know that they're infected is that they're singing and dancing. And so you're supposed to be kind of like weirded out, freaked out by the fact that there's music happening. And so I think that that would actually translate very well onto film. And then also you could kind of up the gore. I think that that would actually be a pretty cool movie. I've run out of tag questions. So I've now gone on to BuzzFeed and I've pulled up a couple like quizzes and checklists and whatever, and I'm gonna go through them. If I wanted to put any amount of effort into this, I would screen record so that you could follow along, but I don't feel like doing that. So I'm just gonna read everything out loud and talk about it. Okay, so this is only a huge Broadway fan will check off 40 out of 50 of the things on this list. So you listen to cast recordings, of course. You don't just listen to cast recordings, you perform them. Sometimes, if I'm home alone, yeah, I'll like sing along, maybe dance along. I just like to have a good time. You know that they're called cast recordings and not soundtracks unless it's a movie musical. I use both words. I don't think that it really matters that much. Are we really gonna be that big of gatekeepers? You collect playbills, kind of. Not intensely. Actually, I'm gonna grab it. I got this. There's not really any rhyme or reason to these playlists. Like, these are just the 4 most recent shows that I've seen. And then I have Twisted, because it's Twisted. Another Star Kid show, for anybody who's curious. Twisted is the story of Aladdin told from Jafar's perspective. Very vulgar and everything else, so like be aware if you are a child, maybe don't watch it. But it's a great show, and like how cool is it that I got to see it live? So that's why I've Twisted up. But the other 4, there's not really any reason other than they're the most recent one. You've stage doored. I don't think I ever have stage doored, actually. I usually just leave. The show is over and I leave. You've dressed up as a Broadway character. I have. When I was a kid, I dressed up as Elphaba for Halloween one year. I think I wanted to be Glinda, but then that was just kind of hard to do, and so we got a witch costume, which basically means I was dressed as a witch, but I said I was Elphaba, so it counts. You have performed in a musical or play. I've performed in many. You have done tech or have played the pit for a musical or play. I've been on like a backstage crew. I've never actually done tech, but I'm gonna check it off. I'm gonna say that that counts. You have memorized some or all of Hamilton, of course. Who hasn't? You don't even need to be a musical theater fan to have at least a little bit of Hamilton memorized. It was such a huge thing. Your room is decorated with posters, playbills, etc. I just showed you it. You've met one or more of your favorite Broadway actors. I don't think I've ever met a Broadway actor. You enjoy a good Broadway meme, of course. You dreamcast different shows all of the time. All of the time. I took a little break, so the angle might be a little different. You were in a Broadway/theater group chat. I'm not in a chat that's like dedicated to talking about theater, so I'm not gonna check this one off. But I am in a theater group chat in the sense that like my friends that I made doing theater and I have a group chat. But I don't think that that's what they're going for. I think they literally mean like you are in a group chat dedicated to talking about theater, which I am not. You've tried to sing every part of One Day More. Of course, who hasn't? Everybody always talks about how like amazing and powerful Do You Hear the People Sing is, but I think the moment that gets me most, like, gives me the chills or like gets me pumped up in Les Mis is One Day More. That's a great song. When you see a show, you take the obligatory playbill pic. Yes, I don't save the pictures. I usually post them on Snapchat and then they're gone in a day. Because I'm an old man and I still use Snapchat. You have met a Broadway actor. I don't think I have. Actually, just kidding, I totally have. I can't believe I forgot. One of my cousins is a stage manager. I've been backstage. I've been backstage like a bunch of times. I'm a fool. You keep up with the latest Broadway news through sites like playbillandbroadway.com. Not really. If I'm like scrolling through Twitter or Facebook or whatever and like an article pops up in my feed, then maybe I'll click on it if it's something that I'm interested in, but I'm not like regularly keeping tabs, so I'm not gonna check that one off. You get excited over casting announcements for upcoming shows. Yeah, if there's like an actor who I really like who's being cast in a show, I might be like, oh, that's cool, like I'll have to check that out. Again, it's not something that I'm following super closely, but if there's like an actor who I'm a fan of and I hear that they're doing a new show, I'll get excited about it, so sure, I'll check that off. You've watched shows like Smash and Glee. Yes, I watched both Smash and Glee. Every episode. I've also seen every episode of Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist and every episode of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Like any musical TV show that's ever existed, I've probably watched. I love all of them. I love all of them. They're all so chaotic and dramatic. Just brilliant. They're brilliant. And the other thing that I love about like most of these musical TV shows is that they're all self-aware. They're like aware of the fact that they're ridiculous and crazy and they play into it, and it's so great. It's so great. Love all of those shows. You have a list of dream roles you want to play. Not really, because I know that I'm not good enough. You stand the goats from Once on This Island. I do love the goats. I do love the goats. Not super familiar with Once on This Island. There was one year that it was the show at my high school. I was not in it. I did do crew for it. And it was not good. But I don't think that that's a reflection of Once on This Island. I think it's a reflection of my high school's performance, especially because, as you can see, I am very white, as are the majority of the people who went to my high school. So not the best show to do. And also, just that director was a lot. Overall, not great, but I did watch the Tony performance and I did love the goats. So yes, I stand the goats for Once on This Island. Wow, I only took 35 out of 50. You love Broadway more than the average person. You are obsessed, but not to the extreme. That's actually pretty accurate. Like, I love Broadway, but I'm not religiously keeping up with everything that's going on in the theater world, but I do enjoy, I enjoy it whenever I partake. The hardest game of Would You Rather for theater kids. That's fun. Which Broadway hit would you rather win free tickets to see, Wicked or Kinky Boots? I'm gonna go Wicked. I've actually seen both of these shows and they're both good, but I mean, Wicked is such a classic and still like one of my favorite shows. It's so incredible, and so if I got to see it again and for free, great. Would you rather receive voice lessons from the phenomenal Billy Porter or the iconic Kristen Chenoweth? I love both of them. I'm gonna say Kristen Chenoweth because I've loved her for forever, and also, not that people, like a man can't be a vocal coach for a woman and vice versa, but I do think that if neither of them are like trained vocal coaches, which I don't know, but if neither of them are trained vocal coaches and they only know their own vocal technique, then I'm more likely to benefit from Kristen Chenoweth as a woman. We'd have more similar voices and be using more similar techniques. So I'm gonna go Kristen Chenoweth. Which friendly face would you rather bump into on the street, Lin-Manuel Miranda or Jonathan Groff? Oh, I'd love to bump into either of them. I'm gonna choose Lin because I've heard stories from people who have randomly bumped into Lin who have said that he's lovely. And it's not that I've heard stories that Jonathan Groff isn't, I've just never heard any stories from anybody who's ever met Jonathan Groff. Which incredible cast would you rather hang out with backstage, the Hamilton cast or the Hadestown cast? They're both so great. But again, it's like we're hanging out, so it's not just like which one would you rather see perform, which would still be really hard. It's like which one do you think would be more fun to hang out with, and I have no idea. I don't know what any of them are like in real life. I'm just gonna view the results. I'm gonna see what other people said. Oh, 88% of people said Hamilton. I'll vote for Hadestown then. I'm gonna vote for Hadestown. They deserve more love. Would you rather get advice from Julie Andrews or Patti LuPone? Oh, again, I'd love to get advice from either of them. I'm gonna go Julie Andrews. I think I'm just like a little bit more familiar with Julie Andrews' work. And so being able to like just talk to her and be in the same room as her, I think I'd pass out. Which beloved show would you rather perform in, Rent or Mamma Mia? Mamma Mia, 100%. Rent is a good show, but how fun would it be to be in Mamma Mia? Come on. Would you rather see 10 Broadway shows a year or perform in one once a year? It is a dream to perform on Broadway, but again, I don't think I'd be very good at it. If I had the opportunity to see 10 shows a year, I'd do it. I'm gonna go see 10 shows. That's actually surprising to me. 57% of people agreed with me in seeing 10 shows. I would have thought that performing in one would have won by a landslide. This I love. I don't know what it's gonna be like, but I love just the title of the quiz. I'm genuinely curious whether or not you can guess the Broadway shows my dad is trying to describe. The guy with the mask is misunderstood. I don't know though, I slept through it. I feel you there. I believe that is Phantom of the Opera. It's the best Andrew Lloyd Webber show I've seen, but that's not saying much. A woman had a lot of boyfriends at the same time, so she doesn't know which one is the father of her daughter. Everyone dances across the rocks of Greece and sings. That is Mamma Mia. Oh god, I had to sit next to my mother-in-law during the sex scene. There's a lot of teen angst, they really rock out. I'm assuming that's Spring Awakening, which I saw when I was 12, and boy was I scarred. And the crazy thing about that is that my mom had already seen it, and she made the decision to take a 12-year-old to go see it after knowing what was going to happen. I have been wanting to like find a slime tutorial to watch though, just to see. I think I'd appreciate it now more as a 23-year-old than I did when I was 12. A guy gets caught in a lie for a girl and cries a lot. I remember him sitting in a chair and his arm is broken. I guess I didn't pay close attention. That's Dear Evan Hansen. What are you talking about sitting in a chair? Old English blokes tell jokes and make fun of Shakespeare. I'm assuming that's Something Rotten. Another great show, very funny. Here's the thing about Something Rotten, is that you need to have like a decent amount of Shakespeare knowledge and a large amount of musical theater knowledge to understand everything that they're talking about. And so if you're someone like me who has those things, I enjoyed it very much. But if you don't, I think you'll still enjoy it, but not as much as I think you're meant to. This one's probably my favorite. It has the best song. A lost and abused woman escapes through baking. She has a baby and a gruff old man gives her his diner after he dies. I love Jessie Mueller. That is Waitress. This is a weird thing that I'm about to say, but Waitress does seem like the kind of show that dads would like. Just, I think the music style really like lends itself to at least like the kind of music that, you know, my dad listens to a lot of like country, and it's not that Waitress is like a country musical, but I think that it has kind of that same sort of vibe to it. I think that my dad might actually like Waitress if he saw it. I remember the cast sat on stage the entire time and played instruments. There was a couple who fell in love and sang sad songs together. This could be so many things. Once, maybe? I'm gonna try once. It was once, yes. A baker made bread. I remember the bread looked good. The music was disjunct. Bad things happen in the woods and I did not like it. That's Into the Woods. Yeah, Sondheim can be maybe a bit of an acquired taste. Oh no, the 3-hour nap. They sing everything and everyone looks miserable. I'm assuming that's Les Mis. Les Mis is a great show, and anybody who says that it's boring is wrong. Oh, that's it. I got all of them right. I'm a genius. I'm gonna stop now because I've been filming for a long time. And also the sun's going down, so I'm losing my light. Anyways, this was a lot of fun. I just kind of got to indulge myself for a little bit. I would have done this anyways, even if I wasn't filming, so it's nice to at least feel a little bit productive with like wasting my time doing BuzzFeed quizzes. I'm sure that this will not be the last time that I talk about theater and dance and any sort of performance. So if you're interested in that, stick around. Maybe it'll just become a Broadway Stan account. Who knows?